I'm now going to be continuing the building. This is now the second session for a data cleaner file that is currently available for sale at workaholic.group in the system section and then data cleaner files. So a subscription will get access by email sent directly to you for any updates to the file or to any updated file within a year or within each year that your subscription continues. But even though the file is available for sale, I'm currently so far documenting the entire build of the file through these videos. So everything that we have in the first version of the file is in the first video of me building it. So I'm building this on a 4K 3840 by 2160 48-inch screen. I'd rather be on a 52. That's going to make it very difficult for some people to view. I will try to keep whatever I'm building in a certain place so that if you want to focus on that and zoom in, you can. For viewing the video, you're almost definitely going to have to pick the highest resolution option possible and force your streaming to be at that resolution. Otherwise, you won't be able to see the detail of what I'm making. But another way to see the detail is to, if you've purchased the file and you're looking through it, you can always run a debug on the scripts that you're interested in or want to use, and then you can see exactly how they work. A principle so far in this file is that nothing is black box. Everything uses native functionality in FileMaker, so you can see whatever the system is doing, and so you may be interested to open the file if you have access to it while I'm working through these processes, because you might want to apply some of the approaches, some of the tools, some of the principles to achieving some of your own data cleanup methods if they're not covered in this file, or if they're not covered in this file sufficiently for your needs. So why would we bother to build data cleanup tools in environments when we could just, for example, get ChatGPT or a similar tool to clean our data? Well, a lot of these AI tools are very relative in their working and ever changing in their workings. And for now, we want to make sure we still get very particular, precise, standard processes and outputs that we know will work in the same way and do the same thing again and again. And then another question may be, well, why would we have messy data if so much data comes from digital sources that can be validated on their entry point or controlled on their entry? Well, even though we have standards like ISO standards, even though we have standard practices, even though we have companies with committees and organizations for conformity, every system, intentionally or unintentionally, can work in a different way, and different formats and standards are used intentionally or unintentionally in different places. And it's quite inevitable that any organization that is pulling data from, pushing data to, managing data in more than one location will have to have some translation processes, some normalization processes, some standardization processes. It's quite an expensive thing to do, but we can use approaches which attempt to make that more efficient. So the contribution of this file is to these files is to, as much as possible, have very transparent, clear, open processes for checking, validating, processing data in ways that are very simple and in ways that are very absolute and in ways that can be easily used again and again and again for many, many years. I'm building these steps in FileMaker because that's what I know. But in many languages, in many platforms, in many environments, there will be tools, there will be libraries, there will be runtimes that can or will achieve the same thing or similar things for you. You might find that some of these processes can be copied, the principles and steps in them can just be copied and used in other environments. And so this is another reason for leaving the file as open as possible, because sometimes it's not just the coding that matters for getting the output that you want, but how clear, simple, modifiable that coding is, how reusable that coding is, how open and transparent that coding is, which may help to guide people, inspire people to process data or to process information or to execute processes that work in certain ways which make everyone's life easier and which makes a system simpler. So that's part of the goal of the approaches that I'm taking here. So I'll open again the data that ChatGPT outputted to us. So this is what we're trying to clean up. And this is the file and how far it got in the first session. And I created a layout which just shows the fields imported. So that should match this CSV here. And I will also open a layout that shows outputs, which is the fully cleaned data so far. By fully cleaned, I don't mean that it will necessarily be perfect. It just means it's the data that's gone through all of the rules intended by the system. and then we also have a all fields, which shows some of the processing steps and some of the journey on the way to achieving the output. So I will try to, let me see if I can leave those here on the screen. And I will now revisit the dates, because we only got so far with the dates. Dates can be one of the most complicated items to clean up because there are so many date formats. I'm going to place on this layout a invoice date output field down. And eventually I'll probably try to make all of these, make this layout display intentionally final fields only. I'm going to open the script workspace window, and the first script in the list is showing up in the scripts menu, so I can press Command 1 in a Mac environment anytime to run the refresh, no matter where I am, on all of the records based on the rules built in so far for processing the imported data. So here is the original date column, and here we have a check of, what do we have? Invoice date imports is okay. This checks whether the date is in my preferred format of YYYY-MM-DD. The next checks for the same format except with a slash rather than a dash. And then so far, as long as at least one of those was honored, then we would be able to extract a date. But there are other date formats in here, which may include, for example, here we have day slash month slash year, which outside of the US is a very standard date format for everyday use, especially outside of computing. So this is the next date format that I want to check for. One of the biggest challenges of this date format, identifying it and validating it, is that, of course, in the US especially, you may have month first, and then day next, and then year. If you're dealing with a data source where you know that all of the dates given to you are definitely in one format or the other, that's a bit easier to deal with. But we may have data sources that mix up month, day versus day, month. And what we want to do with this tool is to be very absolute and very clear in knowing that we're really getting the right date. So in this case, we know that the first two characters are day because 31 exceeds 12 months in a year. So assuming that there's no typo in the date, the 31 can only be referring to a day, which means the O2 would be referring to the second month of February. So we can validate that as being day slash month slash YY. So I'm going to go ahead and program in that rule into a new isValid script. So first I will set up the field to check for that. So I will use this name, the name of this field, as my basis. Invoice date import is in. I will say is definitely, maybe I don't want to say that, is, let's say definitely in dd/mm/YYYY format. And normally when I'm looking for a yes, no, or very standardized output, I will use tag in the name of a field. And because I want this to update every time a record gets refreshed, I put updates on refresh at the end of the name. So I'm just going to press return to create that field. I'm going to press enter on my keyboard to close that definition window, and this new field has been added to the layout here. So what we can focus on as a reference point is this third record, and what we want to do is to make sure that that date is eventually displaying here in our final output once the system knows or has validated that this is indeed dd/mm/YYYY, and then we want to convert to a normalized date format in our last column. So I have already I am going to duplicate this script, and the name is going to have some similarities to the field name. Is a valid dd/mm/YYY. I need to type out slash, not use the symbol. Okay. So the number of characters I'm expecting is the same, and what I want to do though is to add some different or extra validation options to each character. So we need the length check is going to be the same. We need character 1. Character 1 should only ever be a 0, 1, 2, or 3. So we can filter out 0, 1, 2, 3, and we can say invalid because character 1 is not 1 or 2 or 3. I like to make these as descriptive as possible so that when debugs are run or when logs are kept, we can we can make it easy for the developer or easy for the user to detect what may be going wrong without them necessarily having to debug through many lines of code. Okay, and then character 2 can be any number. And then character 3 must be a slash. I want to make this really more... So I have an option here of making this more explicit and just checking whether character 3 is a slash, or I can just filter out slashes only and make sure that there is a count of 1. So basically, if character 3 is a slash, it will get through the filter net, and that character will be remaining. If it's not a slash, the character won't get through the filter net, and none will be remaining. So here I think I will adopt this approach. Then character 4, and then we can just use the same calculation throughout. And then character 4 would have to be a 0 or 1 because it will have to be the first character in the number of a month. So we only filter out 0 and 1. I feel I'm doing something wrong already. Let's see. We're just checking that the second character is any number still. That is fine. And then when it comes to the third character, I just want a different invalidation message as a variable. Invalid because character 3 is not a slash. And then character 4, invalid because character 4 is not a 0 or 1. And then character 5, I'll just switch over here to this. This is the format that we're looking for here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2 slash, that's the third. 4, 5, that's the sixth. Slash 7, 8, 9, 10. I don't think that's really a good way to do it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's not very clear either. I think I would just have to keep it in my head. 1, 2, 3, 4. So character 5 will have to be a month anywhere from any number will do for character 5. So we're on 1, 2, 3, 4. We're on the second character of the month. So character 5 must be any number. Invalid because character 5 is not a number. And character 6 has to be a slash. Character 6 is not a slash. And then character 7. So in theory, character 7 could be any number. Okay, we're checking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. character 6, character 7. Okay, and then in theory we can do the same for character 8, not a number, and the same for character 9 and 10. Done already. Okay. What were we checking there? I think rather than seeing what was done before, characters 6 and 7. Okay, I can't remember and don't want to spend the time interpreting what that means from another script. Now, I'm going to differentiate between could be and definitely is, assuming no typos. So invoice date import let's say assuming no typo could be okay, and then assuming no typo definitely is in. Okay, and here I may let's say assuming no typo could be and assuming no typo definitely is. So a difference between these is that we take the day and month, we take some numbers as signs of definiteness. So if, for example, the day as a number is greater than 12, then we know, assuming no typos, that this is definitely the format. Okay, and I think that's the only rule we can really apply. So I think it's things like that that the script was checking for before. So let's say character 1 and 2, and let's concatenate them. Character 1 and character 2, and let's force those to be recognized as a number. Get as number. Okay, and then I say if character 1 and 2 are is greater than 12, then we can say definitely, except I don't want to, sorry, I'm trying to build these scripts so that they can just be copied and pasted into any solution without updates having to happen in between. So yes, otherwise we can be blank. or I might say unknown. Okay, and then whereas the could be is fine as it is. Okay, let's see. So we have a could be, definitely is. I don't think these columns can be rearranged like that. Okay, let's paste these scripts into the general record refresh script, which I will put in place number 2. So this is context agnostic, and so I'm more familiar with, I'm going to make the approach here more familiar to me. I always name the origin table, I always put base at the end of the origin table because we have the underlying table and table name here, and a table occurrence in the relationship graph. I will always try to make sure that there is no table occurrence that exactly matches the table name, because they can be two different things. So I'm going to assume here that I'm working from a particular table occurrence that has the name base in it, and it will be easier for me to find. So I'm adding, I don't think we have a, we can embed this in a strict sequence potentially for dates, but it doesn't, as long as it's not at the end, then it should be fine. So I'm going to select the could be script using the same underlying date, and I'm going to use it to give me an answer to, I'm going to get this set field to give me the answer here, and then I'm going to use the definitely is script to put the answer here. So I'm saving that. I'm going to run the script on all of the data, and yes, no, unknown. I was only expecting, I wasn't really expecting any no's, because let's see. Okay, no's are fine. So where we have a definitely is, we can output a final date. So we can add another else if here, lower in the hierarchy, and I'm searching for the definitely is field, and then I can place in there. Okay, I would need to convert it, but I'm happy to convert it here. So I will take the field that I'm working with or extracting from is this, and I will construct the date. So for reference, the double slashes are cancelling out any evaluation or use of what follows the double slash on that line. So I'm just keeping it there for reference. I want to construct that date. So I want to, let's see, it may be better to have used, okay, I want to grab the middle values and I want to concatenate them, and I'll be extracting from this field, but I find this a little messy. And for the year, I will be needing character 7, and then 8, 9, 10. Instead of putting 4 here, I'm just going to grab one character because I want the structure to give some clarity in its own right. So 1, character 8, take character 9, take character 10, and then we need a dash. I hold down the Option key and return on a Mac to create a new line without committing anything here. And I use the same calculation, and I want to get the months, and the months will be in positions 4 and 5. So character 4 and character 5, and then we need another dash, and the days will come from characters 1 and 2. Character 1, character 2. Enter key on a Mac to commit without creating a new line. Command S on a Mac to save. Command 1 because it's in the script menu to run the refresh. Okay, I have an error. It's because I'm using the tag field as the source instead of the imported date. Invoice date import. Double click on a Mac to highlight the section after the table occurrence name and colons, so I can just double click paste, double click paste, double click paste, double click paste for all 10 or 8 character lookups. Save that, refresh. Okay, there we go. So the system considers, now our processes consider this to definitely be a dd/mm/yyyy format, and it's giving us a date. And there was another one which would be this one. However, there shouldn't be a 13th month, so the check has failed, and I thought that we had embedded a check for the second number to not be over 12. So something has gone wrong here. The tags are both indicating yes, and the tags should both indicate no. And then if the tags indicate no, then the system shouldn't try to output the date. So let's see what has gone wrong. Regarding weather could be, we want to say, okay, so a problem is that I haven't built any month number checks. Let's see. I built a check-in to this script to check that the first number was only 0 or 1. Here, character 4, but I didn't build in a check for the month as a whole. So I'm tempted to do that at the end. And then potentially we should, I'm thinking whether it's necessary, I'm thinking whether it's necessary for characters 1 and 2, not just characters 4 and 5, given the first character check. So what if we ended up with, okay, if we ended up with a 3 from character 1 and a 9 from character 2, that would obviously be absurd because the maximum day number should be 31, not 3 followed by anything at all. So we're going to have to do a character 1 and 2 check in both scripts. So I can just paste that in easily here. And I will say, okay, and in any case, the output is bad. So if character, let's say character 1 and 2 as a number is greater than 12, then the error should really be no. And that will do. So now that that has been corrected, I can paste it here. But we also want to do, so this can be a days in the month element check. And we can do a months in the year element check. And we want character 4 and 5 as a number. And really, character 1 and 2 is we're meant to be dealing with days here. So 1 and 2 is meant to check for no greater than 31. And character 3 and 4, no, sorry, 4 and 5 should not exceed 12. And that should be here too. Okay, and the last script step is meant to give us a yes if nothing has been found to fail the tests. Okay, let's try again. Okay, great. So this did not validate. However, this should validate. So I've fixed one problem and caused another. So let's see why. We have a no and a no. So this date should pass the could be, and it should also pass the definitely is. So the could be first. Okay, it's because I've eliminated the yes option. I've basically made the two scripts exactly the same, but it should actually pass both scripts. So let's go for the definitely is option. Okay, I see. So if the characters are greater than 31, no. If characters, okay, I've got them. I've got the second section checking for the wrong characters. Okay, let's see. Okay, great. So this passed the test. This passed the test. This passed the test, and it shouldn't have. Okay, seems slightly like we're going around in circles, but I will persevere. This is a reason I make these things as simple as possible. So could be. Is it possible that it could be? No, it couldn't be because the month is 13. So characters 4 and 5 are greater than 12, so it should not pass the could be test. So why is it passing the could be test? Let me just run this script manually on this record. Okay. To check it wasn't being locked in any way. Character 4 and 5 as a number is greater than 12. So it seems that for some reason this is not being triggered. So I could run the debug, but I can just see here that it's just a character issue. I was holding the shift key down when I typed 5, so it wrote, the computer typed out % instead of 5. So hopefully that typo is the source of the problem. Great. Didn't pass either test. Now we can move on to the next type. So here, this could be the 3rd of April, it could be the 4th of March in 2005. So this will potentially always be ambiguous unless you know, for example, if you have say 10,000, 100,000 records and you know that the date column fully honors dd/mm or mm/dd, you could have the system detect which one of those it has to be using the range of dates it has available, and it could tell you that assuming only one format is used, this is definitely the format being used. I would shy away from doing that, and I would try to deal with and clean up data at an individual level in its own right only. So in these situations, I would really be looking for a manual override with some evidence attached to confirm what this date really means. So for now, I'm not going to build anything further into the file to automatically detect what type of date that is. I just want to check for the other dates to see if I can. So here we have a YYY-DD/-MM format. I don't consider that typical. So I would consider that could be, even though that obviously looks intuitively to a human like it could be the 31st of January 2024, I would rather that be flagged as a error for checking for someone to deal with manually. What we could do is with this type of date, we could treat and process it in the same way that we treated and processed the slashed dates in DDMM or MMDD starting formats. So to help this one get through the net and to give us a output here, we can add the same types of checks but just using slashes instead of dashes. So I'm going to duplicate these. I'm going to change slash to dash. And I'm going to remove the copy and the name. If I press change, the name will update, and change the slash to dash, slash to dash, and change. Then I'm going to duplicate these. Really, I want each one here to be as simple as possible in its own right. So I know that we have a lot of repetition in each script here, but sometimes repetition is worth it for a while. Okay, so the only difference is that we are wanting to replace slashes with dashes. I think that's it. And then we need to build those in to our normal single record refresh script. Definitely and then we want to select the could be and the could be, and then if similarly, let's see here, only if it definitely is, then we can use the same source date in the same way. Now let's see whether those fields, okay, let's see whether for this date these get populated and the date comes out. I'm pressing Command 1 to run the script. No, no. Okay. Could, okay, because, okay, we've done one way round. We've done day followed by month for the could be or definitely is, but we haven't done month followed by day. So the difference here wasn't just dashes instead of slashes. It was checking whether it definitely could be month day instead of day month. Okay, assuming no typos. So let's work with the dash scripts, and could be a valid mm-dd. Okay, and definitely is a valid mm-dd, assuming no typos. So instead, we just need, okay, we just need characters 1 and 2 and 4 and 5 swapped. So what's the simplest way for me to do this. Let's check for 0 and 1. Invalid because character 1 is not 0 or 1. Okay. And then character 4 can be 0, 1, 2, or 3. 0 or 1 or 2 or 3. Okay. And then 1 and 2 must not be greater than 12, and 4 and 5 must not be greater than 31. So 81 to 90, I can use the same steps, and 23, excuse me for tapping the microphone, 23 to 51, I think I can also bring in the same steps, lines 23 to 51. Okay, let's check. Command 1 to run. So we're not I haven't embedded these scripts or any new fields into the record refresh. So time for the fields. Definitely and could be. We're dealing with slashes. Okay, definitely is in mm-dd. Get rid of the copy, click change to save the name difference. mm-dd. Okay, change the name. Enter key for OK. Now we have to add them here. I'll do one at a time. Could be a valid. Could be. And then definitely is. Okay, and then we can, let's say if there definitely is, so if that field is yes, then we can reconstruct the date, and the year will come from the same characters, but the month will come from character 1 and character 2, and the day will come from character 4 and character 5. Okay, let's move this over here, run the script. Do we get any more dates? Yes, we do. Do they seem safe? Okay, definitely 31st of February. I think that was done already. We're assuming definitely 13th of January because we're assuming no typo, just a difference in format. Then, were there any others that respected or made use of that new rule? I'm wondering whether there should really be a difference between these. This is concerning. Okay, 106, we really don't know whether that's day month or month day. So we've gone in, we've taken a step forward and a step back. First, okay. So could be is fine. It could be, but we need this to be no. So let's just check that is the field I think it is. Assuming no typo, could be, definitely is. Okay, we need this to be a no. I don't know why I can't move that field, but let's see. Okay. I don't consider it safe, especially if we're dealing with a huge amount of data that we can't check manually. I don't consider it safe to output that date. And why? Okay, that one is fine. I'm looking at the wrong one now. This one. This needs to be no. Why is it not no? Really, we need both of these to be true. So we shouldn't be separating the check. No, we can separate the check because that disqualifies them, but we can't say yes if both the day and the month numbers combined, not combined, if the day and the month both don't exceed 12, then the answer has to be no. So we need an extra condition here. Okay, so we need to say check whether any element, or check whether any potential day or month component exceeds 12, so that we know one is the day element and one is the month element. But really we need to be, ideally we need to be more precise than that, because we need to know that in this case 4 and 5 is actually between 12 and 31. That could make things simpler. If we're assuming one way round rather than the other. Okay, we're tied into this structure now. Okay, so in this specific case, respecting the name of the script and what this specific script is trying to check for and validate, we really need the DD element, so the middle day element, to be more than 12 to know that it definitely is, rather than could be, assuming no typo. So we say check whether the DD element exceeds 12, so that we know it is the day, it is a day and not month element. Okay. So we've already built the variable for character 4 and 5. I think it's okay to build it again. So there's a duplication here. I don't mind that in case these elements get moved around or one gets deleted. I'm okay with it. But what we want is if this is less than, let's say, I could say less than 13, but I want the number 12 to be there because 12 may indicate a meaning of months to someone, including me, who looks at this in the future. So if it is, let's see, if it is less than or equal to 12, then we don't have definiteness. Okay. So it fails. Let's put this here too. No, definiteness. Okay, here we're looking for the first two characters being the month. Sorry, the first two characters being the day. So here we just use characters 1 and 2 instead. And then the definiteness test is failed. And definitely invalid DD. And that's just a slash instead of dash. So the slashes and dashes are in the same place, so I can just add the same calculation or script steps or checks. Okay, I will, let's see if I run. Okay, did we get what we wanted? Let's bring this over here. Okay. So you see we have dots as well. Maybe we should treat slashes, dashes, dots the same instead of having a separate check for each. But having a separate check for each can be useful. I like to keep them separated. So this could be 10th of May or 5th of October. So it didn't pass the test, but this one, okay, that failed the test. That's good. There's no such thing as the 13th of the 13th, but this should pass the test. Could be, and definitely is, assuming no typos, because at least one of the day or month elements is greater than 12, meaning the one greater than 12 must be the day, meaning the other one must be the month. So that's fine, and we could apply the same principle to this date here. However, have we had enough of dates for one day? Let's see, how many more do we want to squeeze out? This one I never want to assume. This one we definitely could. This one is definitely not a date. Could we indicate to the user that it's definitely not a date? It might be a bit useless because maybe we should be treating this and this the same. Okay, we don't want to assume here. Here we weren't given date anyway. We might want to keep a record that no date was provided. Here, do we want to always grab the first 6? I would leave this to a manual check and input, because it may be a bit assuming to grab the first, filter out the first characters. This one we could treat in the same way as this one. And okay, we could apply the same principles there. Not here, not here, and not here. Okay. In these circumstances, we could flag that there's definitely a typo in the date, because if we're getting the format of 4 numbers dash 2 numbers dash 2 numbers, and these two are 0, 0, then we do really know that no matter what, assuming that's the whole text, that we have a invalid date, because anything in that format that's meant to be a date couldn't be that date. So that's the type of tag that we could put into a file. I think what I want to do right now is push through the dot date. Where has it gone? This one. 20th of July 2024, assuming no typos. So I'm looking for the DDMM. Duplicate those. Instead of dash, we have dot. Instead of dash, we have dot. Remove the copy. Instead of dash, we have dot. Instead of dash, we have dot. Okay, and then duplicate these, Command D on a Mac. Right click for a rename. The structures are the same, so all we need to do is find the dashes and replace them with a dot. Dash replaced with a dot. Dash replaced with a dot. And dash replaced with a dot. And then embed them into here. You have to save the name of a script for the you have to save a script after changing its name for the new name to be respected in a script list when you're picking a script here. So let me just add to the list. I'm just going, there's only 1 dot field or 2 dot fields, and we only want the definitely as 1. So, but really I should have copied this one. Okay, let's run it. let's see whether, okay, we don't want any dates to be removed, and we just want one date to show up here. Okay, we haven't had a show up. None of the other dates were removed, unfortunately. It's because I'm not updating the appropriate field. So I'm surprised I didn't do damage. I don't know why that is. I think it's because they're... I'm not actually running these. Okay. I'm not running the scripts. My apologies. I'll look for the -mm. First I'll do could be. Could be, and then I'll run the definitely is and populate the definitely is. Okay, I think the reason we didn't get damage was because those fields weren't populating. Okay, 20th of July from that, 20th of July from that. Looks fine. Okay, at this point we have a lot for the user to look at. I'm going to create another layout, but that for now just honors all of the manual inputs. So manual overrides. Let's open that and let's only include manual overrides. Do we really only have 2? Okay. So we can surround it. Let's have the phone number import and the phone number final, and let's have names, and let's have name final. Okay. This at least lets us see where the user has intervened or had to intervene. To get an outcome in the final. So I'm okay with that. Except that I don't think this is really a manual override. Entity as a natural person. Maybe it is. Okay, it is. Those are not being set by a script. Okay. Okay. We've taken dates as far as I want to take them in this file for now, and soon, perhaps in the next video and next build, we will tackle numbers, which can get very tricky, but in quite different ways from dates.